Unboxing the Baoblatze Grip Strength Dynamometer for clinical improvement of muscles. I got this, you might have guessed it, to measure my grip strength. Why measure grip strength? Quoting Peter Attia, a medical doctor focused on longevity. Why is grip strength important? Not enough can be said about the importance of grip strength as you age. It's one of the strongest physical associations with longer life. What doesn't get measured cannot be managed. So I got this as an addition to the other recent additions, such as toe posture corrections, also recommended in Peter Attia's book Outlive. A blood pressure cuff, which is smart, also recommended by Peter Attia. At least the brand is recommended by Peter Attia, and I have, you might have guessed it, measured my blood pressure with it. And already 4 years ago I got a body fat scale. In the package we find a cable which is not a USB-C cable but a micro USB. We also find the dynamometer itself. Now, I searched actually for a smart one that would track the metrics, or the metric itself, grip strength, with an app, but I couldn't find one. What I mean by smart one is not that it has artificial intelligence, but it would have a Bluetooth connection that would then store the values on an app, on a cloud service, for example. The only thing that I found that came at least somewhat close to being a smart thing was this super weird looking thing here. It's basically the shape of an egg for those who just listen, and you can squeeze it with the hand. The problem is just it goes only up to 110 kilograms, I think. It would have cost 60 euros, or actually $89. So I got this one instead. Let's see if it comes with batteries. This is quite a big one. It's also kind of the standard one I could find on Amazon. It also doesn't come with batteries, so I might have to find two. This device is surprisingly big. I didn't expect it to be this big. What seems to be needed are two AAA batteries. Then we can close it again, and ideally it would already work, and I can finally measure my grip strength. I already asked at my local gym whether they have something like this, but the only thing they had was a blood pressure cuff. But I can only get it measured once a quarter, which for something like blood pressure, or basically for any metric, is not that optimal. Now it also comes with this cable. Now the question is, why? Can this be charged with the cable? Can there be batteries, rechargeable batteries in there? Potentially. Or maybe it runs on a two-way battery. To set up a scientific experiment, let's take out these batteries and then try to turn it on. Or let's just take out one battery. Now we have these fairly big buttons, and let's just play on. And it actually does work. So it seems to have two different methods. If we now take out the second battery, it still seems to work. So there seems to be an internal battery as well as the ability to have it with normal batteries, which is basically the best of both worlds. Now I was a little concerned about the form of this. If this is like this and this is like this here, there were also other ones that were the other way around, where you would press here, which I thought would be maybe a little bit smarter. I don't know, maybe it's not. This one came with a maximum grip strength measured of 180 kilograms, which was a little bit higher than other ones, which in part only went up to 120. I just didn't know if I recorded previously. Additionally, we also find the instructions. Let's take a look at the instructions. So we have this here, then we have a warranty card, and then we have the actual instructions, which we find here. So, if we take a look at this, then we find the setting is kilogram, or dry chocolate, which is actually the thing that is like listed next to it. It says kilogram and dry chocolate, but it doesn't focus. Weird. The maximum range is 180 kilogram. The scale value is 0.1 kilogram. We have the 2 times 1.5 volts AAA batteries and rechargeable lithium battery. The allowed error is 0.5 kilograms. It adopts a bionic design methods. It is a novel design. It is a very fashionable shape, and it also has smooth lines, high precision strain sensor, and 20mm high LCD digital display. It hints the low battery with LO, and the overloading prompt is error, in case you are too strong. The dimensions are 19.5 centimeters multiplied by 125 millimeters, or 12.5 multiplied by a thickness of at maximum, I assume, 3 centimeters, which would be here. Then we have the different test parameter settings. So now, because I'm 26, I put in 26. So there also seems to be a feature that actually ranks you in regards to your age. So now we have this here, and now it just shows the kilogram, but we actually want to set up a user. So I clicked on user, and now let's click up the age, maybe by using this up and down arrow here, it moves up, or is it just a user that moves up and down? User 1, user 5, no, user 2, I just couldn't read it in the mirror. Alright, we have user 1, and now we click on start. But I'm not 25, so how do I change this? We could click on user 1 again, and it already shows me that there are 19 possible users, which is quite nice for a gym, for example, or if you are a family of 19 people. So I click on 1 again, and let's try reading the instructions. Click on off to go to user preference. First set the user name, then set the gender, and finally set the age. Alright, I now think I know how it works. So first you turn it on. Let's turn it off again for the sake of the demonstration. You turn it on and then it shows one user. If you then have one user, you can set different metrics by pulling them up and down. So now user is blinking and it says user 1. So then we click on start, which basically means now that I screwed it up. Because here it says set, so we click, basically we change the right thing and then we click on set again. So now it's user 1, set. Now it shows the gender and we could switch between male and female, but since I am male, I click set. Then we click the age and now I can go 1 up, which is then 26, which is my current age, and I click set. Then what else do we have left? We have user again, so this seems to be then everything we can do. So we can go again to gender and we can go again to age. So we have 3 different parameters to set and then we can start the measurement, I guess. And that's the final moment. That's the final moment for me, which I have been working on since starting to climb at age 11. My right hand is the dominant hand and I will be really looking forward to the result of this. Maybe I will get some magnesia. So I got my climbing chalk, but I actually think I don't want to put too much chalk onto this. So let's just try it like this. But actually, actually it works like this, I think. And that's kind of the reasoning why I thought this was kind of weird. Because, well, it's down here and not up there. But also it seems a little bit easier that way. But it's not ergonomic in a way. So do I pull it down like this? But then my hand is kind of too small. But if I pull it down like this, let's just see. I mean, the things for the fingers are here. So let's try to see. The maximum is 180. I got 49.1, which is ridiculously bad, one could say. So what can we do now? We could measure the other hand, I guess. Is there kind of a setting in here that measures the other hand, or do you just measure it with your dominant hand? You can also turn on the device by clicking start right away. Maybe it just doesn't store it with the user then, I don't know. There probably also is an ideal way. So if you, for example, have it like this, compared to have it like this, which would be a maybe more natural position, then you might be able to pull a little bit more. So let's try this. It's 49.9. So apart from a 0.8 kilogram difference, 800 grams, my hands seem to be at least fairly symmetrical. Or not so much my hands, but rather these things here. But I think I can do better, so therefore let's try again. 43 on the right hand. Maybe I can also kind of show it in action, so you have 0 and then as you're beginning to press, it begins to raise the values. And 45 on the other again. I noticed if I do kind of retract more muscles, I do maybe have a little bit of a advantage, maybe not. So now, since it has a rechargeable built-in battery, I don't need these any longer. The interpretation of the results. On July 30th, 2013, Russia's Alexei Tukalov managed to officially lift 150.5 kilograms at the A1 arm wrestling tournament. A device that looks like this thing in the middle here. So there seems to be something you hold and then you put weight onto it, which you then pull up into the air. Now getting an actual table, grip strength rating for males in kilogram. Grip strength seems to peak at the age of 25 to 29. Before it gradually builds up from 10 to 11, for example, strong would be considered 22 kilograms, normal 12 kilograms to 22 kilograms. Again, back to me being 26, I'm basically in the top tier, at least in terms of age, but not in terms of strength. So ideal would here be everything better than 57.5. The normal range would be 37.57 and weak everything below 37 kilograms. Now this is not really kilograms, it's force measured in kilograms. Force is actually measured in Newton, but since we have gravity and we usually just multiply the newtons with the factor of 10, measuring things in kilogram is a little easier. If you weigh 100 kilograms, then the Earth is pulling you with a force of 1000 Newton towards its center. But you're also pulling the Earth towards your center, just not that much. Brian Johnson is a biohacker/American entrepreneur who tries to rejuvenate himself and uses the concept of biological age in order to give a grasp on how to basically improve health. Because as your age begins to increase, a lot of metrics begin to decrease. Therefore, having a younger age or being similar to somebody who would be 10 years younger is a very graspable concept. For those familiar with Liver King, it's not Liver King. Liver King is spelled with an I. His name is also Brian Johnson, but this guy is spelled with a Y and he looks like this. Now, why am I mentioning him? Because he has kind of published his grip strength and also in general is in pretty good shape for a 45-year-old. His grip strength seems to be 60 kilograms or 54 kilograms, which is not only absolutely better, but also relatively better compared to the age group in which he's in. Now, how to track. I found an app called Hand Grip Strength Test, which looks like this and allows me to input data, so I could potentially, at least somewhat conveniently, input my grip strength. But it's only on one side, so it would be probably the dominant hand. The other option would be to use something like Excel. I do have a very big Excel with lots of health data, but I found that using services that store the data automatically, like tracking my runs, for example, on my Garmin watch, or on another service, and not having to manually open up Excel, and Excel also loads often very long, is just, in terms of my user experience, a little bit better. So it allows me to track these metrics without having to think about it too much and to Excel design. So now is the point where I have to remember my dominant hand. I think it was 49. I obviously also just can't go back into the video, but I just cannot draw now while I'm recording. So maybe my grip strength has regenerated, so let's try again. Hulk position, 43.4. That is basically the lowest of all measurements. So for the sake of recording this video now, I will input 49, but I will check it later on and then maybe correct it if it was wrong. And then there is also something called status, which opens up an app. So I do not know what this status thing here means. Maybe I could use it to track left and right hand. I could also just store two different users with two different names, left and right. So now within the app, we just click on save down here, and then we have the data saved. Now this is the overview and we can go back if we then click on just back. And now this is what it looks like. So I do have left and right. I just do not have a timestamp in it, which might be fairly useful. So if you're on this view now, in case you're wondering, I just applied this here to go back, and then we can go back and input another data point. What we do not have is just a timestamp. So in order to track this properly, not only in terms of left and right, which are already 2 dimensions, one would also have to record a time dimension. In Excel, my other health data is stored like this. I do have basically the columns, and I also do have the individual rows. Now I use the rows for the dates, and I use the columns for variables. So let's say we have grip strength, and this would then be grip strength on the left hand, grip strength on the right hand. I would then input the current date, blah blah blah, and then I would input the value here, and over time we would then see how this develops, and you could also then generate a graph which then might show you ideally an overall trend that goes like this into infinity, up to 180 kilograms, the maximum that this can measure. So one incentive would be to produce an error message when going overboard with the 180 kilograms. In summary, I think you don't need chalk to use this. I think it kind of makes sense to have one of these at home. Andy Galpin on the Huberman Lab also recommended to get one of these. In terms of costs, this was not that expensive, but it also was not that cheap. It cost me 32.19 euros. The watch in comparison cost, I think, 30 euros. Not the watch, but the scale. The blood pressure cuff I got refurbished, so it only cost 100. euros, even though it otherwise would have cost 130. There are also blood pressure cuffs that don't come in this circular design, but with a tube attached that would sell for 30, 50, 60 maybe. My Garmin watch was 360 euros, also refurbished, but this now also means the battery only lasts for 2 days, otherwise it would last for a week. And I also do have a Galaxy Watch 4, which is currently in battery replacement service. The downsides of this particular device is that there is not one that is smart. The upside is, if it would be smart, then it probably would have cost 3 times more, just because it is smart and has a Bluetooth connection and an app. Now, it does not have an app, but there is at least one app that can track this, but you also just might track it with Excel over time. So maybe because it doesn't have automatic measurement or data storage of the measured data, I might do this once a week, because otherwise I just manually have to track the data. Whereas with this, for example, I can just take it on, or just put it on once a day in the morning and once in the evening, and then I just press the button here, and then it just measures it and automatically transfers it to my phone, which is more convenient. Or compare this to just wearing a watch. Obviously you also have to charge it, and that automatically records continuous heart rate data as well as blood oxygenation and so on and so forth.